Elizabeth, thanks so much for being willing to be interviewed for Voices of Community, Erath County Oral History Project. I wanted to start by allowing you to tell us your name and to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Elizabeth Johnson, and I am currently the Executive Director of Meals on Wheels of Erath County. I am also an adjunct instructor here at Tarleton in the social work department. I am a licensed social worker, and I have lived in this area for about 27 years. My husband and I came here to Erath County because he was assigned by the military to teach ROTC here at Tarleton.
And what's your husband's name?
His name is Terry Johnson.
Terry, does he teach ROTC still here at Tarleton?
No.
And you've been here in Erath County for 27 years, you said. And you said that he was assigned here to teach at Tarleton, so that's what brought you to the county?
Yes.
Where did you come from?
We came from Hawaii.
Wow.
From
Hawaii?
Yeah, it was.
And which island?
We were on the on Oahu.
Okay. Can you share some of your earliest memories of being in Erath County 27 years ago when you guys showed up?
Gosh, when we first moved here, we lived in Dublin, so it was a very small town, very different than always living on military bases because we'd been in the military, and it was a little bit of a culture shock, and it was different for my children. One of my earliest memories here is my son. He was about 4th grade, and he went to his first little football practice, and he came home and he said, "Mom, my coach brought us well water," he said, "and mine had a leaf in it." Because he didn't know about well water, he'd only ever gotten water from the pipes, he thought that when you had well water, you went out to the well and scooped it up in a bucket, and that's why his had a leaf in it. So that we had to explain to him that's not what well water means, and why it was different. And you don't think about having to teach children those kind of things when you move to a new place.
Do you have any family here in Erath County, or was it just your family that came here?
Just our family.
And how did you feel about that? How did you integrate into the community?
We when we first moved here, we picked Dublin because there was a gymnasium and my daughter was a gymnast, and they did gymnastics there, so that's why we picked to live there. And that gave us a nice, making friends already, getting to know other people in the community, and that was helpful. I came and finished my degree here at Tarleton, and then my husband was teaching, so we were able to build relationships and things like that. It was interesting. In the military, it's kind of, you make friends just naturally. Everybody is new, everybody's looking for a new friend, and here in Dublin and in Stephenville, everybody already has a friend because they all grew up together, they've known each other for years. So that was a little bit of a challenge, but.
Talk about what life was like 27 years ago, 20 years ago in Erath County when y'all moved here, and then as you continued to live here.
When we first moved here, one of the things I think that we noticed and that our children noticed, that it was a very homogeneous culture. Everybody here, there was not very much diversity. The kids were, curious about where's everybody else. Everybody was white. Most of the people were cow farmers. They had milk cows and dairymen, and that's who was here and how they were earning their living in Erath County especially. And so that was a different for us because we'd never been around that.
When did you see that change?
Probably about in the last 10 to 15 years, after they had some lawsuits coming from Waco about the water system and the watershed and all of that, and then a lot of the dairy farmers kind of moved off. I think now, I don't know, I'm not as much involved with it now, but it seems a lot more of the farmers here are doing meat cattle. Sorry, I'm not very good with that kind of language.
So the county became more diverse, and certainly more diverse now than it was 27 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
What do you In terms of, how old were your kids when they came here, or your son? Was he?
My son was in 4th grade.
Okay. Did you notice any of that homogeneity in the schools at all? Can you
Oh
talk
yes,
about that?
absolutely. It was very interesting because he's the one who said to me one time, "Mom, there are no black kids here," and from the military is very diverse, and so he noticed that pretty early on after we moved here that there were, and they were very. We had told the kids it's going to be different here, that the kids would not be moving in and moving out, that they would very likely be, the kids that were here would be the kids that were going to stay. And my other son had some issues with that because one of his friends was going to move away. And he said, "Mom, you lied to me. You told me that people would not be moving out like they do, on the military bases." I said, "Well, I mean, sometimes people do, but for the most part, they wouldn't." But kids take you at your word, don't they?
Yep. Tell us about the hangouts. What was cool in Erath County or Stephenville, Dublin, when you moved here? What businesses were around? Where did people go? Where did they eat? Those kinds of things.
There were not hardly as many restaurants here. The place that people would go to hang out was at what is now City Hall. Used to be called City Limits, and that would be where all of the shows would come. The musicians would come and play shows there, and everybody would go see them. Tarleton had a lot of shows that would come in and play in Wisdom Gym, and we would go watch those. Eating out, Montana's was here. I'm trying to think of where else people would eat out. There were just not hardly any places to eat. Pizza place.
What about recreational gathering spots?
There used to be a skating rink here when we first moved here. There was a skating rink, and we would take the kids there. Our kids were very involved in sports, so there was a lot of activity around sports in Dublin, but even more so here in Stephenville.
When you moved here, were there any traditions that you brought or that you got involved with in Stephenville, Erath County, that were yearly traditions, holiday traditions? And if so, can you tell us about those?
Well, now that it's Easter time, I think our family is Roman Catholic, and so we were involved with the church and going to church around Easter and going to all of the Holy Week celebrations and things like that.
What was Christmas like for your family moving here by yourselves, and Thanksgiving and those kinds of things?
We have a lot of extended family, so we would spend a lot of time with them. One of the things that was unusual when we first moved here was all of the parades. They have parade here in Erath County for everything. And so my kids, parades, they don't do that a lot on military bases, aside from like the military parades. But so that was interesting to see all of the Little Miss contests and all of those kinds of things. That was fun for us to watch and see the kids that we knew doing those kinds of things.
Can you talk about how Tarleton, which is a huge part of this community, was 27 years ago, and how you saw Tarleton change, and maybe the involvement that you had with Tarleton, beyond your husband working here? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so Tarleton was much smaller when I came here, and much older. It's been incredible to watch the growth that Tarleton has had. When we first came here, there was most of the buildings that are here now were not here. A lot of them have been built since then. My husband went in ROTC. He used to rappel off of the Grant building. The ROTC program used to do that. I don't know if they still do or not, but that was one of the things they used to do. A lot of the traditions that you see now here at Tarleton were still here. They were there. Let me rephrase that. A lot of the traditions that you have now were already in place back when we were here. Mm-hmm. A lot of the things during homecoming week were still here. We participated in a lot of those things. One of the things that's very meaningful to us is the silver taps. That's been going on since my husband was here. After my husband left Tarleton, my son came to Tarleton, and he got a scholarship here, and he graduated from Tarleton, and he's through the ROTC program. So he's in the military, and he's coming back this year for silver taps in a few weeks. So we'll get to see that. Out of our 4 children, both my husband and I graduated from Tarleton. My husband got his bachelor's degree and his master's degree. I got my bachelor's degree in psychology here, and then went on and got my master's, in social work, and at UT Arlington, because at that time Tarleton didn't have a master's in social work, but now they do, which is really exciting. My son graduated from Tarleton, and he's in the military now, and my daughter is an accountant. She's an owner of one of the accounting firms here in town. She's a partner, and she's also graduated from Tarleton. So we are in Tarleton.
Sure.
And I teach here now.
Right. And can you talk a little bit more about why silver taps? You identified that one tradition as being the one that seems to be really impactful. Can you talk about why?
I think the thing that silver taps does is it connects the past and the future. When the people that are involved in silver taps are former students, alumni, they're former faculty and staff. It's people that have a meaningful connection to Tarleton. And it's run by the students. The ROTC program is involved. The students volunteer to hold the candles for the folks that have passed away. And what the Silver Taps does is recognize someone who's passed away within the last year. And you hear and see the stories and the lives of the people that have been at Tarleton, and how they've been involved with it, and how Tarleton has impacted them. So it's a beautiful ceremony.
To shift to your family more, like what kinds of traditions are important to your family?
My family is very big on everybody getting together for all of the holidays. And our traditions around holidays are what we've learned from our families. My husband's mother was from Germany, and my family's from El Paso. So on Christmas Eve in El Paso, it's traditional to have tamales for dinner on Christmas Eve. In my husband's family's tradition, it was to have a German meat salad. It's kind of, think tuna salad, but made with lunch meat, chopped up real fine. So my children all grew up eating tamales and German meat salad for Christmas Eve dinner. And that's just what they know. And I think that's how most traditions come. You start doing it, you combine them, you pick the things that you like, the things that you discard. So we always make sure that we spend that time together. My love language is gift giving, so I love to watch people open their gifts. So we always take turns opening gifts and are very purposeful about it, and make sure that we're doing all of those things. I have a lot of extended family, and a lot of them have moved to this area, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and so we're able to get together with them. We do every holiday we get together, have a big party. We always have games. We always have activities to do. We just spending that time together as family and being together. And the kids love it.
What's on the table at Thanksgiving?
At Thanksgiving we have turkey, we have mashed potatoes, gravy, corn, Brussels sprouts. We also have a French-Canadian meat pie, and we use the meat from the meat pie and stuff the neck of the turkey with the meat from the meat pie, and the body of the turkey with traditional stuffing. So a little bit different.
Did Thanksgiving from your husband's family diffuse at all into what became you and his Thanksgiving? What came from your family? What came from his family?
Very little came from his family.
Okay.
His mother was from Germany, and they didn't celebrate Thanksgiving, so she mostly mimicked what her husband told her to do, except my mother-in-law wouldn't eat corn because in Germany that was pig food. So she refused to eat corn, so she would serve it for her children and her husband, but she would never eat it. So, but most of that comes from my family for Thanksgiving. The other special occasions that we would have would come from her, just traditional German meals, and she would teach me how to make them, and so that I could make them for my husband. So I make them for my husband, my children, my in-laws, and do all of that cooking for them.
Can you talk about the deviled egg recipe that you handed me?
Yes. So my parents are well known for their deviled eggs. Everybody just loves them. And when they were still alive, my father's passed away and my mother's not doing well, they would make hundreds of deviled eggs for every family gathering. Like I'm talking like 120, so it's 60 eggs worth. And I'm not sure what it is about them, but they're the best deviled eggs. I think it's because we add bacon to them, and we chop up bacon and add it to the mix. And it's just one of those things. Somebody asks, "What are you going to bring?" Bring deviled eggs. Who's bringing the deviled eggs? So when we were thinking about something that means a lot to our family, that was the recipe that I thought, I'll bring the deviled eggs.
And who usually does the cooking now? Is it just you, or is it you and some of your daughter? Your
Yep,
son?
my daughter, my son, not so much my son, he'll bring stuff, but my son-in-law, he loves to grill, so he brings and smoke things, so he'll bring stuff. And the way we do it is everybody just signs up for what they want to bring, and everybody brings something different. So we usually, like for Easter coming up, I'll do the ham and make a potato salad, and then everybody else will bring lots of stuff.
Do you remember when you first learned to make the deviled egg recipe? Do you have a memory of that?
I remember my mother teaching me how to make it as a child. Yeah, we would I can remember peeling the eggs and having to be super careful not to get the chunks and to make sure you peeled them real smooth. My mother had a special egg masher that we would use, and to make sure that they got real fine, because you want the eggs to be really fine. Measuring it, because it was bacon, making sure you had the bacon right, good and crispy, not too hard cooked. I remember my father coming out and tasting them and always giving his, if it had not enough salt, which seems to be the thing in my family that needs more salt, needs more salt. So whenever you have a recipe that needs something, add salt. And then we put paprika on the top of it, and that was always like, you have to get the paprika right, sprinkles have to be perfect, everything has to be good.
So lots of really good memories.
Absolutely.
Of this.
Mm-hmm.
When did you share it with your daughter or your family? Can you talk about that?
Sure. Actually, my mother, when she was making it, my niece and my daughter would go over and help her to make them so that they could learn how to make them. And a few years ago, I took the recipe and put it I had my mother write it out by hand, and I took the recipe and I put it onto dish towels, and with sublimation, put them onto all the dish towels, and gave the recipe to everybody in my family so they would have it.
Is that the first time it had been written down, do you think?
I think so.
Wow.
Yeah, she just did it by memory.
Yep.
And it was hard to nail her down. Okay, Mom, how much mayonnaise do I put? I don't know, till it's creamy.
Were there any other recipes beyond the deviled eggs that come to mind that were mainstays in the family?
We have a potato salad that's very similar to the deviled eggs. In fact, when I was getting the deviled egg recipe together, I was sending my sister the potato salad recipe, because of that holiday. Also, I think, when you think about Thanksgiving, one of my early memories is at Thanksgiving, my parents all year long, my mother would keep a brown paper bag and throw all the leftover bread, the heels of the bread. I don't know what you call the ends of the bread, but we called them the heel. She would keep all of that in a bag in the cupboard. I don't know how they never got mice, but they never did. But they would keep this open brown paper bag in the cupboard all year. And then at Thanksgiving, they would take that bag out and break up the bread into small pieces to make the stuffing. You didn't buy stuffing at the store like you do now. You had this old bread and you broke it up into little pieces. And we were from El Paso, so it didn't get bad, it just dried out. And they would, and I can remember them on Thanksgiving morning breaking up the bread to make the stuffing for the turkey.
I want to bridge this into Meals on Wheels.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about family meals, transmission of knowledge related to recipes across generations. And I wonder if there's any relationship between maybe the familial importance of gathering together. You talked about how it's really important for that to happen, and your directorship of Meals on Wheels. Can you tell us how you became the director of Erath County Meals on Wheels?
Sure. A friend of mine encouraged me to apply for it. I had been, in most of my career, had been in child welfare, and I had been working in Granbury and wanted to come back to Stephenville. And so she encouraged me. I thought I would love to work with the senior population, and was selected and was able to come and work at Meals on Wheels. And it's been a blessing. One thing that I have realized is that families are families, and a lot of the things that I worked with when I was in child welfare are the same things that we deal with our seniors. Mm-hmm. But you were asking about that connection between meals and connectivity, and that's probably the greatest blessing that Meals on Wheels brings to our community, because it's more than a meal. And I know that's kind of a catchphrase, but it really is. When you see and hear the volunteers, we are a volunteer organization. We have about 250 volunteers a month that deliver our meals to our clients. And they come on their own time. They come and pick up the meals. They use their own vehicles. They go out. They go cover the entire county and deliver, and not just deliver the meal, but they develop relationships. And when they come back and they talk about their relationships with the clients, when they share the conversations that they've had with the clients, it is a beautiful thing to witness, because they know when they're having a good day. They know when someone's child is sick, and when someone's themselves are getting sicker and weaker, and they give us such a beautiful window into their lives. And then we're able to, because we connect and collect information about their family, we're able to, if someone comes back and says, hey, Mrs. So-and-so seemed really weak today, she seemed confused, we can call their family members and say, hey, our volunteer was really concerned about your mom today. Can you check on them? Or if, say, we go out there and they're not home, and we think they ought to be home, we can call the family and say, hey, your mom wasn't home today, she didn't come to the door, is everything okay? And that gives the family that sense of safety. It lets them know somebody is looking at my mom, and our clients. I've had many of them, when I say, we're gonna come and check on you every day, we're gonna make sure you're okay, they just are like, that's fantastic, we love that. Because a lot of people really worry about being alone, and we do have clients that they don't see another person from Friday, when their volunteer leaves on Friday, until Monday, when their next volunteer comes on Monday. And we realized that when our Monday volunteers would come back and they would say, oh, everybody wanted to talk today, everybody wanted to visit for a while today, that's why it took me longer than normal. And we thought, that's what's going on. So we started a friendly visitors program where we can connect volunteers from the community with our clients that don't have someone else that live with them. They don't live with a child or with someone else, that they live alone. Because for a senior, when you think about lifespan and you think about how you make friends and how you have connections, small collection of people in your lives, like your parents, your siblings, when you're young, and then when you go to school, you make more friends, and then when you get involved in activities, you make more friends, and as you grow and you go to college, you make new friends, and you start having a job, you make friends at work, new connections, church, and all of these other places that your social connections grow and grow and grow. Your kids have parents, your kids' friends have parents, and you make friends with them. And as you age and you start leaving the workplace and your friends start aging and your siblings are aging, your social connections get smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's what we see a lot with our seniors, who many of them are over 75. Most of them are over 75. And a great deal of them are over the age of 80. And a lot of their spouses, their siblings, their friends, they're not able to go to do the activities that they used to do. So their social connections are getting smaller and smaller. And sometimes those get so small that there is not anybody else there. And Meals on Wheels provides that connection. And so we try to make sure that they have that, that they know that they're part of our family of Meals on Wheels, and make sure that they know that we care about them and that we're going to make sure that they're safe. And they know that we're a part of them and they're a part of us.
How many meals have y'all served approximately over the years?
Well, we've been serving since 1995, and we serve now about between 40 and 45,000 meals a year. So I don't know the math on that.
Wow.
A lot of meals.
Hundreds of thousands of meals.
Hundreds of thousands of meals.
Talking about the community, you've been here 27 years. Who in the community has been influential to you? Who can you identify as being an influential person that's impacted you and your family's lives?
Gosh, my friends, I have a wonderful group of friends that have been very loving and caring to me and to my children. I think that there are some people here on campus that I have admired over the years, especially from the social work department, that I have gotten to know. And one I can think of, I was just talking about Misty Smith here at Tarleton. She's in the social work department, and she is if there was a definition for what a social worker should be, Misty Smith is that person. Like, it's her picture in the dictionary saying this is who a person is. She's just cares about other people, she's thoughtful, she listens, she does all of those things. She's one, and other, Ted Lovato, yeah, just lots of people here. And really the way that people care about our community. When I see the board of directors at Meals on Wheels, we're a non-paid, board that they don't get paid, they volunteer, and how much they care about the clients that we serve. Every time that we make a decision, their question always is, how will this affect our clients? How will this affect the people that we serve? And that's so impressive. David Kincannon, he's just amazing. He's funny, he's caring. He's just a giving person.
What lessons have you learned since your time coming to Erath County?
I think that probably the biggest lesson has been that when you live in a small community, that everyone matters and everyone can make a difference. You may think, oh, well, nobody. When you're in a small community, it really shows that everything that you do impacts other people, and it can impact them in such a positive way. And you see that when we have a tragedy or a problem or a need, everybody in Erath County steps up, and it's whether they can give or do their time, their treasure, their talent. They are always willing to step up and help. If I ask someone for help for Meals on Wheels, they nearly always say yes, in one way or another. And I've seen that, like I said, with lots of areas when someone needed help, not just at Meals on Wheels.
Can you talk about any challenges that you've had over the years that you've had to overcome?
I think that everybody has challenges, personal, professional, and you just have to maybe keep a positive attitude and hope and faith that things are going to get better. And when I've had those kinds of challenges, if you can keep that attitude that, yes, this is bad right now, but we have resources, we have ways we can get through this, it'll get better, and you have people that are supportive of you, that's what makes it work.
So, I think you've touched on this several times, but I wanted to ask what makes Erath County special to you?
I think it's the people of Erath County. I think when you talk to someone from Erath County that really cares, I know somebody that's been on the city council, and why he did it, I had never asked him. And one day we were talking about a challenge that he had to go through, and it really became clear for me that he did not go on city council to be popular. He did not go on city council to be moving up. It was not for any selfish reasons. He wanted to make Stephenville a better place for everybody that lived here. And that kind of selfishness, you see it with everybody. You see it with, many of our elected officials. You see it with the people that are leading organizations here in Erath County. I see it with the other nonprofits. A lot of times there are situations that kind of try to put you in a field where you're competing with each other, but in the end, we're all working together to help our community. And if I needed something, like, I know that I could call one of the other nonprofit directors and say, hey, I need this, do you have it? Can you help me with that? What are you doing about this? What are you doing about that? And they would help. And I think that willingness to help is what makes Erath County so special.
What do you hope future generations understand about this community?
I hope that future generations know that if you want to get something out of a community, you have to give something to the community. That you have to put in the work to make the community the way that you want it to be. That if you want to have a really good soccer program, you have to be a part of that. You have to be part of the solution, part of making things good. And I want them to know that that's the people that have come before them, that's what they wanted to do too. They wanted things to be better. They wanted things to be good for themselves, for their families, for the future.
And is there a story about your family or your life that you would like future generations to remember?
I would. I'll tell you a little bit of story about my mother. My mother is from Brooklyn, New York. She's 90 years old. She did not graduate from high school. She got married when she was 16 to my father, who was in the military. The military runs in our family. And she always wanted to go west. So they got stationed in Fort Bliss, El Paso. They raised 8 children there, and we had an incident in our family where a child was abused, and my mother didn't just wallow in the sadness of it. She wanted to become part of the solution, and she started the Child Crisis Center of El Paso, the first child crisis center in the state of Texas, where if someone was having a problem, if their child was going to be, if they were afraid they were going to hurt their child, that they could take their child to this child crisis center and people would take care of their child for them and get them counseling and get them help and give them a break and help them move forward. And she started this in 1978, 79, and was the first executive director there and grew it, and then over time decided that the professionals need to take it. It was growing, and with a cheerful heart gave it to the professionals, and that Child Crisis Center is still going right now. And it is an amazing legacy that she's left us. I think that that's how we should all be. Remember, didn't graduate from high school. Got an award from the governors.
That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share about your experience here in Erath County?
I can't think of anything else. I feel like I've been talking a lot.
Elizabeth, thanks so much for being willing to be interviewed and being willing to be interviewed in front of a class of students.
Yeah,
Really
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having me.